Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests waiting to be profiled are ballet legend Andrei Tremaine and author Mara Gibbs. Dancer, dance coach, Ballet Russe soloist Andrei Tremaine was born in Hollywood, but he was raised in Paris. When his mother went to tour with the ballet, Andrei came back to live in California with his grandmother in San Francisco. Who was your mother dancing with at that time?
At that time, she was dancing with the Basile Ballet Russe, and so that's why there's this legend that we keep carrying on, you know. It's a hand-me-down, is that the way, a good word for it? And although I didn't want to dance ballet at first, when I was a little kid, she dragged me when I was 6 years old and into her class. And
she was teaching too?
She was teaching here, yes, at the time.
Oh.
And I said, I don't want to do that, you know, there's a bunch of girls in class. Then I got to thinking, after I took the class, all those girls and just me, I'm coming back.
Oh, you were pretty smart.
Yep, that's how I started.
Did your mother take you to the ballet with her when she was performing? Did you ever go?
Yes, that's why I had some time in Paris. We spent there, and then we came back here.
So would you watch her from the from backstage, or would you get to sit?
Yes, and I have one real short, quick story about that. When I was extremely young, my mother was dancing in Paris, out in the front, and there was a big curtain, and they said, "Don't you go through that curtain." Of course, that was an invitation, and I snuck through. Then pretty soon I saw one of these, what do they call those, hooks that grab you back?
Oh, yeah, pull you out.
And I was telling the audience, my mother is going to dance tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was a memory that...
That was so cute. Well then, actually, so you started taking classes with her.
Yes.
And was that a beginning of your career? Is that how you want to start?
Yes, that was the very beginning. She had me when she was 17 years old, and I was very young. So we had kind of an interesting privilege there. She was still very young, and I was just a teenager, so we danced even together. Oh, you did? Yes, we had some dance, and she's the one that taught me how to be a partner in ballet. She was very knowledgeable. When you were taking classes here with her? Yes. In LA? Yes. Who else did you take with here? Well, I did study for a while with a very wonderful teacher called Michael Panayev. Oh, I remember Michael. Do you remember Michael? Yes, he had a studio in Hollywood. Right. And he was with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo too, my main company. Then I studied with Bronislava Nijinská. Oh, and Bronislava was in L.A.? She had a studio down there near La Brea Avenue, yes. And it was her brother who was the famous Nijinská? The legendary Václav Nijinsky. Right. They worked together when they were young, and she was just something that I'll never forget. So when you took from your mom, your mother, this is so great, and from Bronislava, were their styles the same? They were pretty much the same, because she was Russian trained, and of course Bronislava was Russian trained. So, yes. So, and then you went on to New York, and you studied with Eglevsky and Danilova and Massine, right? Right. And were they all giving classes in New York at the same time? How fabulous. Well, they were. Danilova, I was able to join the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo. That's where I took class with her. Oh, I see. After you became a member of the company, yes. And how did you get in the company? Because of your teachers? Well, I'll tell you. I was taking class with Nijinská in Los Angeles, and one of the premier dancers, Oleg Tupin, was with the company, and he said, "Come and see the Ballet Russe. They're going to be performing in Hollywood Bowl." Oh. And so I said, okay, and so he invited me, and we sat there in the first row, and I said, I want to be with that company. It had a spark, it had so much to offer. And so I did. I was able to join.
So you had to audition?
I had to audition. I auditioned in Los Angeles.
But was it because, do you think, of your training, and it was like the Russian training like they had that made you?
I do. Before that, I'd had some experience with the National Ballet of the Colón Theater in Buenos Aires, the Mexican National Ballet. So I came.
Oh, you had danced with all of them,
I danced with these
you?
before,
Yes.
but still, the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo was one that was just one I wanted to be with for so many reasons.
So when you actually were with the company, is that when you were taking class from Massine and Eglevsky?
That's right.
Oh, they were in the company?
Well, Massine was at that particular time.
And was he choreographing
He was
things?
choreographing so many of his ballets, Gaieté Parisienne, Beau Danube. He would be wonderful to work with if he liked you. If he didn't like you, it wouldn't be so good. Fortunately, we got along very well.
I remember when I first started taking ballet from Tatiana Ryabushinska.
Yeah.
He came to class one day, and I think she was like, "Woo,
Yeah, that's
he's
right.
coming." She was a little bit worried about what he was going to say about the way she taught.
Yeah.
And she taught in a classic Russian way as
Yes,
well.
she sure did. Yeah, they were similar. He was quite a personality, and he would have many things to offer if you would let him offer them. In other words, if you could enter his life, it would be all right, you know?
He was very strong.
He's very
right?
strong. You couldn't do it on your terms. You'd have to be his terms.
Did you ever think of dancing anything other than ballet? I mean, you got the Lester Horton Award, which is modern dance, isn't it?
Well, it's a mixture of dancing. Yeah, there's a lot of modern dance. The other night there was a wonderful program. Last Sunday was the Lester Horton Award, and I was able to fortunately have the Life Achievement Award, which was quite an honor, very coveted award. But they do have a mixture of dance. I presented the Red Poppy Ballet for their performance.
And that was your big number, wasn't it? Who
Yeah.
wrote that?
The music was Reinhold Glier. He's a Soviet composer, and this is a Soviet ballet, an older ballet. You don't hear about it too much.
Is it monumental? I mean, in the way the actions take place, the dancers, do they dance with a different kind of rhythm?
It is. It's a story ballet, first of all. And it is. And it has to do in China at the time of the revolution. And Tai Hoa, the principal girl, falls in love with this so-called handsome Russian sea captain.
Oh, that's
And the story takes place. And with her deep love, she signifies that by giving him a red poppy, which does signify sincere love. She didn't never know love, but she fell in love with him.
So you danced the Russian role?
Yes.
And then when they did this in Los Angeles recently, did you help with the choreography?
Yes, I did. I did all of the choreography for this ballet, yes.
So here we have Andrei, Russian or French,
Yeah.
Andrei Tremaine. Why did a lot of people change their names and made Russianized their names when they were
Yes.
dancing, right?
That's true, yeah. In fact, in the company, the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, Sergei Denim, the director, if he felt like Americanizing the company, he would call a lot of the first names American names, which is all right. Like even one of the dancers that are going to be presented, Mark Platt, will be.
Oh, yes.
He was Platov.
That's
for
right.
a while.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, and it goes on like that. And if you felt like you wanted to be Russian, then you go into Russian, so.
Did they ever change your name?
Oh, no.
No, they-
Well, wait a minute. Yes, they did. They changed mine to Bill Tremaine for a while.
Oh.
And I didn't care for that. But you can't tell anything to the director. You just do what the director says.
When we introduced you as a dance coach, and you're a dance coach at the Media City Ballet run by Natasha
Middleton. Yes.
who happens to be your daughter.
Yes, happens to be.
And she was a great dancer until she had an injury. Is that what happened?
She was a wonderful dancer, and she danced with the Joffrey II Ballet, and she danced with my own company, the Pacific Ballet Theater, and she had this terrible automobile accident that she broke her neck even. And she took a long time to come back. She's recovered now, but it did stop her career.
But the Media City Ballet is very active.
Yes, it
it's in
is.
Burbank, right?
Yes, it is. It's on Palm Avenue in Burbank, and we're about to do a performance, like a one-time performance on June the 9th of which we're honoring, including myself, 5 ballet dancers that were with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo.
And they're all here, or
They're
you're bringing
going to
them
be
in?
here. They're going to be here, flying in. George Zorich, Mark Platt, Victor Moreno, and this other gentleman that I've known for years, Paul Moore, and myself. And this will be at the Wilshire E. Bell Theater.
And you said that you'll be doing some of the dances that these people were famous for dancing.
Yes, that's the wonderful evening. Natasha is producing this, and it's going to be representing some of the ballets that we did. In my case, the Red Poppy, and there will be Scheherazade, Pas de Deux, the Palavetzian dances from Prince Igor.
Oh, so it sounds so great. I'm really excited about that. And when you do dance coaching, because I know you also taught at Loyola Marymount.
Yes.
Do you teach in the same style, or is dance coaching just pointing and telling them what to do,
No.
like directing?
I think that once you have in my case at least, the Russian school training, that's what you carry through into your classes and into your rehearsals and all things that are artistic, and it stays that way.
I see. One of the other things that I have so many questions I want to ask you, I can't keep up with it. You mentioned Pacific
Pacific Ballet Theater was my
Pacific
company.
Ballet Theater, but
Yes.
was it an outshoot of the Santa Monica Civic Ballet?
Yes, it was.
Because you were a tradition in Santa Monica.
Yes, we did the Nutcracker Ballet. The city of Santa Monica used to pay for us to do at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium annually the complete Nutcracker Ballet. And that was a wonderful experience. And the people of Santa Monica would come each year to see us, and we would import very good dancers along with local dancers.
Oh, so you would bring dancers in?
Yes, we would.
I wondered about that. What is your feeling about European versus Russian versus American training?
Well, being the Russian school, I'm just kind of partial to that, of course. But you know, you see so many good dancers, like American Ballet Theater, New York City Ballet. They're not all Russians. They're not all. You don't have to be all Russian. You just have to be well trained, and they're so well trained wherever they come from.
Oh, that's so
Really.
great to hear. And before we leave, I know you brought a photograph, the
Yes.
Ballet Russe cover.
This is called the Men of the Ballet Russe. And this is what we are going to be performing on June the 9th at the Wilshire E. Bell. If you want any information about it, just go on the line to Media
the ballet,
City Ballet.
It's a .org, yeah. And next to it, that picture.
The one at the bottom there?
Yes.
That's my friend Paul Moore. He was with the Marquis de Cueva Ballet Russe.
Oh, Marquis de Cuevas?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and so he's going to be honored too. He's one of the 5.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's so exciting.
It is.
Thank you, Andrei, for being with us.
You know, you have such a warm smile. You make everybody feel so comfortable.
Oh, I'm so
I wanted
glad.
to get that in all evening.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And don't go away, because we'll be right back with Mara Gibbs. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm with author-producer Mara Gibbs, who was born and raised in Los Angeles. She graduated from University High School and attended UC Santa Cruz and UCLA. Mara's book, Everybody Eats There, is the result of her passion for travel and food. What was the inspiration for your interest in food?
One, my parents, because my mother was always a great cook, and we grew up eating really well until she decided to go teach at the Pritikin Institute, when she stopped cooking like Julia Child and started cooking like him, and we all stopped eating at home. My brother, Peter Morton, went off to live in London, and all he ate, he was not a gourmet, was burgers and fries. And I mean, I'm not going to go into his story because everybody knows it. Like, he ended up very famous in the restaurant world.
But he started in England and as the
started
Great
in
American
England.
Disaster with the stuff he loved to eat, hamburgers
Right,
and
exactly.
fries.
And now he won't even touch the stuff. So it's like he's a total health freak,
I
more
didn't-
than I am.
I didn't know your mother was such a great cook.
Oh yeah, she's a fantastic cook. And one thing great about my mom is she will always look at a recipe. I cut them out, but I invent. I look at a recipe and then I decide to do what I want to do. She really follows recipes.
Oh, she
So I
does.
cut them out for her when I want her to cook them. So, but on my very first trip to Europe, I was about 13 years of age, and I kind of didn't really want to go with them. And it was a trip through France, and they were hitting all of these fabulous chateaux and great restaurants, and I was very rebellious, and I'd show up in my cut-off jeans and pretend I hated everything when secretly inside I loved every bite. And probably my first moment I remember was eating at a restaurant in Telloir, which is this gorgeous place on Lac d'Annecy, and we went to this restaurant called Perbise, which is gorgeous, and you're on this fantastic lake, and you're sitting outside, and the waiters are giving you this table service and opening up copper pots. And I remember eating this dish of écrivisse, which were like sort of baby lobster in a kind of sherry cream sauce. And I remember this dish so well, and I remember little things like the cavillon melon that I ate.
But you were a teenager.
Yeah.
And you
I was
remembered
pretending
all
to
of
hate
that?
everything. Oh yeah, I remember every.
And then you had to come back to LA.
And then I came back to
mean,
LA, and I remember
California.
every time I saw a French person with their sweaters tied around their neck or smoking a gauloise or a gitan, I was like, I'd go up to them and I'd go, "Are you French?" And that's when I decided I wanted to learn French.
Is that right?
I learned French first, and then I learned Italian.
But after college, here you were. You went to UC Santa Cruz. You went to UCLA, and then you had to decide what to do. What did you decide to
Well,
do?
I studied languages, and then I went into the film department at UCLA, and I loved acting and film, and I was crazy about that, but they're bureaucratic at UCLA, and they don't let you change majors too easily. So I used to audit classes in the film department, and the classes I hated, I was always late to. So I was like psychology, which, you know, in the Jewish religion, we should actually, you know, all be studying it harder, and then we wouldn't have to pay all those shrinks so much money.
That's
So,
right.
you
So
know.
you were late to those classes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But anyway, I tended to miss a lot of those because they were also early morning classes, and I hate early mornings.
So what did you do? So you decided to go to Europe and
I
produce.
did.
What were you producing?
No, what happened is that I took a year off at UCLA and I went to live in Italy.
Ah, you went to Italy first.
I went to London.
Yeah.
And I ended up working for my brother.
Oh,
And I
see.
first started working at the Hard Rock, and
Were you
I was-
singing? You had a
I
singing
was also
career.
singing. I was also singing.
You were
on the
singing
side.
where?
I did my first backup job with Harry Nielsen. Long
In
time ago.
London?
In England, yeah, because I cut a demo with Island Records. And, you know, and then I went back to live in Italy, and I ended up doing a singing tour with a very well-known singer there, Umberto Tozzi, who wrote a song called Gloria, which I think,
Alberto Tozzi?
Umberto Tozzi. And
Oh, Gloria.
I worked in another restaurant in Rome there. So I've worked in restaurants all over the place.
So that, just knowing the food and working in that situation.
traveling and-
then what happened to your singing career?
Well, I did some more demos in the States and was not particularly ambitious, and was more interested in extracurricular activities like boyfriends and things like that, and was not aggressive with the career. I had record labels give me money, and I wasn't ambitious like some of these young girls today. And I
I
admire
see.
them for that.
So
I ended up having to work with, you know, my brother, and then I ended up managing a restaurant in Los Angeles called Il Giardino, which was one of the first real Tuscan restaurants.
on 3rd Street.
I put them on the map, and I stole all our customers from Horton's, which we had opened up.
One of my favorite restaurants. We used to eat there all the time. Il Giardino.
It spawned all of the great chefs out of
right.
LA. It spawned Agostino, Giorgio. I mean,
Downtown.
no, it was here. It was
No. It spawned the restaurant downtown. I forgot the name. Where?
I remember, but it's on the top of my head. But nonetheless, it was the most authentic, because before that, all you had was sort of red sauce, Americanized, you know, mafioso type
right.
Italian restaurants. And this was the first real Italian restaurant. So, of course, everybody ate there.
Is that right? That is what we always
Everybody
used to
ate
say.
there.
That was like the saying, everybody ate there.
Well, I had to argue with the owner because he'd want to give away tables to walk-ins. And I said, you can't do that. Barry Diller's coming in and he wants his table when he wants it. You have to respect their, honor their reservations. It was
So
something
you
that I learned.
started, so you knew this business, and you were in a restaurant where everybody ate.
Right.
And,
well, Morton's,
and then the book.
everybody ate there. Il Giardino, everybody ate there. And what happened is over the years, I did start working in the film business, and I put 2 directors on the map, both Italian, of course. One just directed Will Smith's new movie, Gabriele Muccino.
So do you speak Italian?
I speak fluent Italian.
And French.
And French, and some English. Some English. My English is pretty bad. And I do speak Spanish. You have to in Los Angeles.
So here's the book. Everybody eats there.
Well, this came about because I had a film project about a chef, way before the Food Channel ever became as popular as it is. And like it happens in the film business, I don't want to go into it, but yeah, slightly screwed on the story, but I put my foot down. I said, nobody does this story but me. So I had this passion for restaurants, and I used to email my friends after I would go to something great, and I emailed a friend of mine after eating in a restaurant in New York, and he said to me, damn, I wish I'd gone with you, but I'm going to follow what you told me to do. And he did, and he said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, or he said, or being a food critic. And I said, no, I don't want to be a food critic because I don't want to eat out every night in a restaurant. And I'm not a critic, I'm more of an observer. I like to watch what's going on in a restaurant. I don't like to criticize because every restaurant has something great to offer.
So let's get into these restaurants that are so great.
I got this idea, and I came to my co-author, William Stadium, who I used to be the food critic for LA Magazine. He'd written for many, many magazines, and he's written a number of books. And I also knew he was passionate about food like I was. And I came up with this idea, and he says, oh, no, we'll never get an agent. No, we'll never get a book deal. And I said, yes, we will, yes, we will, yes, we will, and we did.
And then you had to pick 100 legendary restaurants. How'd you do that?
Well, between the 2 of us, we're both well-traveled. Maybe Bill a little more so than I am. And we went through the key cities in the world. So we have Moscow, Tokyo, Sydney, LA, New York, San Francisco, Miami, Rio, Sao Paulo, London, Paris, Rome, Madrid, Venice.
And then you have this all-encompassing...
And the south of France, sorry.
Yeah, but you have this little thing that covers the continent, European...
Right, we divided up the book into sort of sections.
Yeah, but so what makes a restaurant legendary? I mean, you're in all these famous cities, but what makes a restaurant legendary?
Okay, we have what we call the 3 Fs, food, fun, and fame.
Right.
And each of these places are fun because... And I will speak for myself. I am a great cook. I have friends that are great cooks. I love to entertain at home. But there's nothing more fun than going out to a restaurant and people watching. So I love to be in a place where the food has to be probably secondary, because most of the really fabulous restaurants, which I love too, don't get me wrong. I am a big fan of Thomas Keller and Jean-Georges Van der Reichen and Alain Ducasse and Daniel Boulou, they're fantastic chefs, but they're very serious restaurants. I like to have fun when I go out.
You talked about fun and the stars, and one of the things that legendary restaurants have are the Michelin stars, but they also have celebrity stars.
Right.
How important are those things?
I don't really care about the Michelin stars
You don't
because
care.
I think the Michelin stars only rate French restaurants. It's very rare when they give a star to anything but a French restaurant. So for me, it might work in France, but in other cities in the world, I don't even judge it. I mean, we did put some restaurants in the book that were starred that are not French.
Right.
In London, we have Hakkasan, and that's one of the few restaurants that are not French. It's Chinese.
And in LA?
In LA,
they don't have stars, do they?
No, nobody has stars. We have movie stars.
Yeah, so that's the
we
difference.
have movie stars and political stars.
So we had Mr. Chow, Morton's.
We have Giorgio Ago, the Ivy. Nate and Now's and the coffee shop
I
at the
know.
Beverly Hills Hotel. On any given day, you can walk in there and see somebody famous.
And those are fun places,
And they're
like you're
fun.
talking about.
But they also have good food. And you have to know that that's the second thing. Each of these places that we write about, I don't care what it is, all of them have a certain quality that they maintain.
So let me tell you, you have, you go to these restaurants, and sometimes you don't even have to look at the menu because you are so in. What is that about?
I know. I went to the Ivy the other night, and I didn't look at the menu.
You don't use
I
the
asked
menu.
him for what the specials were, and I
Okay, is that what you
I kind
do?
of knew what I wanted. I'm a creature of habit, so each place has something that I love.
And you mentioned
we put
that.
it in the book.
I know. I think that's so great that it's
because
in the
they
book.
are they're the specialties.
And before we leave, I know the 10 Commandments. I think the last commandment is really great, to check your check.
Absolutely. I had a little experience in the south of France. Be sure when you eat in these restaurants that you check your bill to make sure that they haven't overcharged you, double charged you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But if you're going to a legendary restaurant, don't you think that you should have the confidence that that's not going to happen?
Well, guess what? In some legendary restaurants, they're cash restaurants. And cash restaurants are very hard to have a paper trail. I went to a restaurant called Tétu in the south of France, and guess what? I paid my 147 euros. That's nearly $200 for a dinner. I was doing research on the book. And mind you, my publisher was not paying for this. This came out of my pocket.
So your research was all on your own.
All on our own.
With-
we
with
paid
Bill
for it
and
out of
with
our
you.
pocket, okay?
So it wasn't a PR. This isn't any PR stunt.
No, and not at all. We paid ourselves. Nobody gave us any free dinners anywhere. So, not even in my own family. So, no, I take that back. But there's got to be one place you can eat for free.
Exactly.
And that has to be at home. But nonetheless, I left that restaurant after paying, and some friends of mine came the next night, and the owner of the restaurant told them that I had charged my dinner to them.
Oh, to your friends?
Absolutely. And they had taken me the night before for dinner, and I interviewed the owner afterwards. And I got this message from them, and I was furious. And I tracked them down, and I said I did nothing of the sort. And I told friends of my family who had pushed me to go to Tétu to include them in the book
You
because
did
it's so
include
famous.
it. Yes.
That, you know, it's a fabulous restaurant. They're famous for the bouillabaisse. They're famous for the tomatoes provençal. Well, guess what? They also double charge. And they did. I paid my bill, and my friend paid my bill again.
Oh, so that's
Because
really bad. That's
He didn't know.
That's commandment number 10. Number 10. And we have to go, but I know, think about the kitchen and the chef and how to dress and give your table up
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
that they'll love
important.
you. And I thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, thank you, Joan, for having me, please.
And keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. Bye.